Saturday the 9th of February sees the running of the ultra-competitive Betfair Hurdle at Newbury, and to try and pick through the 500 entries, we've had to get some hired help in. We've got Bill Esdaile over on my right, the racing editor of City AM, and the guru of all things Ante-Post, Trevor Harris. There are so many runners, we don't have hours and hours, unfortunately. We're going to try and pick through the market principles and find a couple further down the market that we'd either definitely want to be against or definitely want to be with. But this race revolves around the favourite. My tent or yours are currently 9-2 shot with us here at Star Sports after winning impressively at Huntington last time out. Everyone knows it's gone up £9 for that victory, and it hasn't seemed to move in the market, which is surprising to me and a few others in the office. And at 9-2, I would have thought most people think it doesn't represent value. Bill, I would have thought you'd agree.
Yeah, I mean, there was this monumental move for My Tent or Yours on the day that he ran at Huntington. Before he'd even won the race, this gamble developed for this race, the Betfair Hurdle. And he was about a 7-8 to 1 chance for the Betfair Hurdle before he won that day. He was moved up to a mark of 149. For me, at 9-2 or 4-1, he represents no value for 3 reasons. The first reason is he hates soft ground. He doesn't go well on soft ground. He was beaten at Newbury. He won't run if the ground is soft. And I don't see the sunshine anywhere. The second reason is he's gone up to a mark of 149, so he's not that well in. The third reason for me is he doesn't settle in his race. And yes, he may settle in a big field, but it's a big ask. And for one that's so inexperienced, yes, he has all the potential in the world. For one that's so inexperienced, he's very, very short in a field full of the stars of yesteryear as well, of the hurdling division. I just can't back him at 4s.
Well, it's breaking your heart here, because most of that money was Luke's Ante-Post. And we all got told to back it at 10-1 for this race. And I joined in like a sheep. I agree with Bill, really. I mean, 9-2 is pretty short. You could argue, though, you'll get an opportunity to back a very talented horse of 149 for the last time. He just looks like he's got so much quality, so much class, and also, unfortunately, so much inexperience. And which one's going to come out? Uber competitive, big field handicap. 9-2, I can't play. But I think it's a fine horse and one to keep an eye on, as they say.
Well, I'm going to save my one prayer for Champion Hurdle Day, but if I had a second one up my sleeve, like you said, I mean, I'm on at 12s. I told all the boys, everyone in the office, come on, let's get on this at 12s, because it's going to collapse, it's going to win. It was 4-6 and it was sat there at 12s, and the way it won, I didn't think it would win as impressively as it did. But if you look at the race last year, Darlan ran off 1-4-6, would have won if it hadn't tipped up, is now Ante-Post favourite for the Champion Hurdle. Can a horse at 149 win this? Well, yes, if you think a year down the line it could be 170, 175. And I think my tent of yours, a massive question is whether it will settle or not. But if it does, I think it's got without doubt the most ability in the race. It represents no value whatsoever at 4-1. I couldn't agree with you more, but I've got to stick with it at 12s because it'll be a nice day out in the sun if it comes in. But the other horses in the race to mention, we'll get out the market moves to start with. And there's been 2 plunge horses in this race. One, 20-1 a couple of weeks ago, now 12-1 is Cotton Mill, the Ferguson horse. If you remember, it ran out last year in the Albert Bartlett, I believe it was, when Simon Sigg went on and won when travelling well. We've seen what Simon Sigg's gone on to do. Went and ran very well at Aintree, and that's a big market move. And the other is Punjabi, former Champion Hurdle winner, bounced back this season, 40s into 20s. Mr. NJ Henderson's got a good record in this race, especially with older horses. Do either of those interest you, gents?
Yeah, I mean, both interest me. To start with, Cotton Mill has been avoiding the ground all winter to date. That's the problem with him. He needs good ground. Will he get good ground in 2 weeks' time? Probably not. That's the big issue with him. Huge amount of talent. 2 mile 5 horse dropping back in trip. That's the question mark, but he's been back for the Champion Hurdle this week. He's thrown in off if he's as good as they say he is. Massive chance if the ground's good. As for Punjabi, we were discussing beforehand, you've got a former Champion Hurdle winner thrown in here. I think he was 6th in the Christmas Hurdle over the Christmas period. If he retains 60% of his old ability, he's a player here. He travelled really well into the straight at Kempton before, fitter and
looked like he needed the run, didn't he?
He visually blew up. But they're both big players.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to believe Cotton Mill's going to improve the dropping trip. I think strictly on last year's form, you could argue he's just well handicapped. But if he improves the drop into 2 miles, he's a massive player. Punjabi, champion hurdle when they're getting weight from novices. I mean, he's only got to be, as Bill says, close to his form ability to be a massive runner in this. Personally, a 10-year-old I probably wouldn't play, but wouldn't have minded having the 40s. But both need consideration.
Okay, right. I'll just read down a couple of the horses that are high in the market, and you stop me if you've got any real strong opinions about either.
Okay.
Pearl Swan obviously ran blindingly well at Cheltenham Trials a year ago when beating Grametti, I believe it was. 10-1 shot. Plenty of weight for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's another one who could be still well in on his ability. The issue is that his first run for a year or so it's a big break to bounce back from.
Of course.
It's Paul Nicholls, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be
Champion
underpriced
trainer.
because it's Paul Nicholls.
Nicholls and Walsh, you've got to fancy it, really.
Cause, of course, is massively impressive at Ascot early in the season and in Ireland. Is now a 10-1 shot. Looks plenty short enough for me.
Yeah, well, won a small race in Ireland, been on the go, been quite busy. Big player. If the ground's going to be horrible, which it probably is. So, I mean, he's a runner too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll pick out 3 further horses for us to discuss, and then we'll probably wrap it up there with our selections. But the 3 I thought were interesting were Ronaldo de Mott, Grametti, who I know is now 12-1, been back for the Champion Hurdle, and Staying Article, which looks a very interesting Edward O'Grady recruit at 20-1.
Yeah, Staying Article is just bang consistent. Always fancy for these big races in Ireland. Rarely runs a bad race, but it's really the likelihood of him coming over, and Edward O'Grady's runners over here are much respected in my mind. If he does come over, Edward would probably think he's still got him on a good mark, and yeah, he's a major each-way player for me.
And Bill Grametti, I know you like that.
Yeah, I mean Grametti, I'm a fan of the horse. Alan King hasn't had a great season to date, and he's due a big win. For me, first run back, I wouldn't necessarily be backing him, but this is a stepping stone to the Champion Hurdle. If he's a Champion Hurdle player, he has to be a player in this.
Of course. Right, in conclusion, for me, I've got to stick with the favourite My Tent Over Yours. Please, God, let that win. But agree with the gents, it's far too short of 4s now. I would want to be against Cotton Mill. I think it's far too much buzz about the horse for what it's achieved. 12-1, the ground to be against it. So the lay of the race for me is Cotton Mill. I want to get that in our book. Trevor?
Well, there's 2 interesting novices, Claret Cloak and Court Minstrel, who are just coming out of novice status. Both want good ground. If it comes up good, they're both major runners at 16-1, but it's not very likely, is it? And Double Ross, I consider that one a big race. It won very easy at Haydock early in the year. And
if I had to pin you down to two each way bets?
Staying Article and Double Ross.
And William?
I would be interested in Ronaldo de Mott of David Pipes. Travelled up like a winner last time at Sandown before it blew up. I think he's very interesting. One at a massive price that's not on many lists, might not run, but is Starluck. It's a horse that's plummeted down the weights. He's now with David Buffner, but he fell at the last at Kempton. But the interesting thing that day is he fell at the last. There was a massive plunge on him.
Yeah.
So he's obviously still retained.
6, I think,
and he doesn't like the soft ground. If the ground does become good, he's a kind of horse off about 10-8 or whatever that could well be thrown in. He's around the 40 to 50-1 mark. I just think I don't know his well-being. I don't know if he's even going to turn up. But at the price, he would interest me. But Ronaldo de Mott for me.
Well, my one piece of advice is, we could sit here and talk about this all day to a blue in the face, as could you. It's such a competitive race. If you've got a strong fancy, stick with it. Don't get put off by the press, because you never know what's going on with these races. Where's running, who's going to run where, what needs what ground. Stick with your strong fancy. Give us a call on 08000 521 321. We're here to take your bets, and we wish you all the best of luck.